You two early 6-star Do Dis, aren't you overestimating yourselves? Faced with their encirclement, Lu Di showed no fear. Instead, she taunted them lightly, and suddenly, the dazzling power of 7th rank life force burst out from her body. 7th rank life force? The two early 6-star Do Dis exclaimed in unison, clearly surprised. Although their talents were average, they both possessed 5th rank life force. While that wasn't considered particularly strong, it wasn't weak either. But to their shock, Lu Di wielded 7th rank life force. 7th rank life force was rare, even within the Incense Pavilion. Only a few powerful individuals possessed it, and the fact that Lu Di was one of them was entirely unexpected. Interesting. We thought that as a member of the Serpent Folk clan, your strength would be mediocre. Who knew you were hiding so much? The two Do Dis said with a laugh, though there was no trace of fear in their voices. Despite knowing the significant gap in their life force levels, they didn't back down. They were eager to earn the reward promised by their second senior brother, and without showing some real skill, they wouldn't be able to claim it. Besides, even with Lu Di's 7th rank life force, it was still 2 against 1. Attack! The two exchanged a glance and immediately moved. Despite their own 5th rank life force, they showed no fear of Lu Di's superior power. You're courting death, so don't blame me. Lu Di snorted coldly. Her earlier goodwill toward them vanished as soon as they made comments about her serpent folk lineage. If not for the Incense Pavilion's prohibition on killing, she would have ended them right there. But even though she couldn't kill them, she could certainly teach them a lesson. With that thought, she unleashed her 7th rank life force and charged directly at the two Do Dis. Who would have thought that the disciples living in the Bamboo Pavilion are so talented and strong? It's just that all the attention is on Xiao Yan, so their brilliance has been overshadowed, Hong Qi murmured from the shadows. He remained hidden, unwilling to intervene. If he did, and word got back to the Hall Master, he might be accused of bullying the younger generation. That would be more trouble than it's worth. Boom, boom, boom. The two Do Dis, though only possessing 5th rank life force, had exceptional teamwork and combat experience, far beyond that of typical disciples. These two are more skilled than I thought. It looks like I'll need to use poison, Lu Di mused as she fought. As her thought finished, faint traces of green Do Chi began to appear within the brilliant white life force. It was subtle and barely noticeable, and the two Do Dis failed to detect it. Let's go again. Boom, boom, boom. The two Do Dis and Lu Di were locked in an intense battle, with neither side gaining the upper hand. Damn it, there's something strange about this woman's life force. The more we fight, the worse I feel. One of the Do Dis muttered, noticing that his body wasn't responding properly. I feel it too. Something's wrong with Lu Di's life force. The other Do Di added, his eyes filled with confusion. Just as they began to realize something was amiss, Lu Di's eyes gleamed with a murderous glint, and she snorted coldly. Only now you notice? Too late, she sneered, as a fierce killing intent surged from her serpent folk eyes. Damn it! Retreat! Realizing the danger, the two Do Dis immediately pulled back. As Lu Di finished speaking, her life force suddenly vanished, replaced by a menacing green Do Chi. Its toxic energy was so potent that even the slightest touch would be lethal. Watch your mouths and remember, words can kill. Lu Di now stood like an unbeatable war goddess, her eyes fixed ruthlessly on the two Do Dis. Within just a few breaths, Lu Di no longer hesitated. She wouldn't give them a chance to escape. During their earlier battle, they had already absorbed the poison hidden in her life force, leaving them in a weakened state. Lu Di, don't go too far. Realizing Lu Di's murderous intent, the two men grew fearful. They had only wanted to claim a tempting reward and hadn't expected Lu Di would be serious about killing them. They could feel her killing intent, and it wasn't fake. In desperation, they began to beg for mercy. Begging for mercy now? Too late. You shouldn't have mocked the serpent folk. After all, we're still human. Why should we endure your scorn? Die. Lu Di's eyes turned blood red as her killing intent surged uncontrollably. This is bad. She's lost control. Seeing Lu Di's bloodlust from his hidden vantage, Hong Qi cursed under his breath. He couldn't afford to stay on the sidelines any longer. His aura flared as he rushed toward Lu Di to stop her. After all, these two Do Dis were under his command. If Lu Di killed them, he would be the first to face consequences from the Earth Hall's leadership. The attack wasn't aimed at hitting Lu Di, but to help him regain his senses. Cough, cough. The scorching waves echoed in the air, and Lu Di immediately snapped back to consciousness. However, the next moment, a wave of weakness spread throughout his body, clearly showing that the recent loss of control had drained much of his strength. Thank you, brother. The two early 6-star Do Di men sighed in relief, seeing that they hadn't been harmed. Still, a hint of fear lingered in their hearts. Lu Di's madness had been terrifying. Better not to provoke him in the future. Why are you even bringing up the Serpent Folk clan? Hong Chi sighed, casting an annoyed glance at the two behind him before turning his attention back to Lu Di. That commotion likely alerted the people inside, but no matter. I hope Xiao Yan comes too, Hong Chi said, not in any hurry to make a move, choosing to wait instead. Boom, boom, boom. Brilliant crimson life force, carrying waves of intense heat, swept across the entrance of the bamboo pavilion, instantly alerting those inside. What's going on? Mu Yingying, possessing the sacred flame, had an extraordinary sensitivity to fire attributes. She was the first to sense the traces of battle not far from the entrance and quietly remarked, "Let's go check it out." Without hesitation, she headed towards the disturbance. Why hasn't Lu Di returned yet? Something must have happened, Mu Feng said, following immediately. Naturally, Little Yi went with them. What are these guys up to? Lu Di, watching Hong Chi step in to block his attack and save the two early 6-star Do Di men, had no intention of continuing the fight. His gaze was fixed on the bamboo pavilion, as if waiting for something. The distance to the bamboo pavilion was less than a few hundred meters. That powerful surge from Hong Chi earlier would have definitely alerted those inside. It was only a matter of time before they arrived. Are they waiting for Xiao Yan? A bold thought crossed Lu Di's mind, but from the dangerous aura emanating from the red-robed man in front of him, it was clear that this guy was incredibly strong. They're here. Hong Chi's lips curved slightly as he spoke. Lu Di, are you all right? Three figures approached, 2 men and 1 woman. It was none other than Mu Yingying, Little Yi, and Mu Feng, who had rushed out as soon as they sensed the commotion. I'm fine, just a little drained, Lu Di said, feeling a warmth in his heart as they all gathered by his side. To engage in battle near our residence, doesn't that break the rules? Mu Yingying was the first to speak, her voice clearly tinged with anger. What a beauty! Hong Chi's full attention shifted to Mu Yingying as she spoke. Her porcelain-like skin and icy aura made her look like a lotus blooming in the snow. Heh, we're just here to see junior brother Xiao Yan, Hong Chi said, his tone calculated. Word is that junior brother Xiao Yan broke a long-standing precedent of our Incense Pavilion, so we couldn't resist coming to take a look. My 2 junior brothers here noticed your comrade's impressive strength and wanted to spar a little, that's all. Oh, really? Mu Feng's gaze shifted to the 2 early 6-star Do Di men. Their auras were strong, but Mu Feng was confident he could defeat them. However, the real threat was Hong Chi, whose strength was on another level. Let me handle this, Little Yi stepped forward, a terrifying aura instantly spreading around him. Damn, this guy. Hong Chi, ever sharp, sensed Little Yi's overwhelming power within just a single breath. This man's strength rivaled some of the sect's top experts. I should take care of this. If you step in, the deputy hall master might not be too pleased. Mu Yingying shook her head. Little Yi's strength had reached the level of an 8-star Do Di. If he were to deal with Hong Chi, a mere late 6-star Do Di, it would invite criticism. All right, Little Yi understood her concern and remained silent. Let's go, then. Mu Yingying's voice turned icy. Trespassing on the human hall's territory and attacking our disciples. This is a serious offense. Humph. Enough talk. If it's a fight you want, let's get to it. Hong Chi sneered, and his life force erupted in a brilliant display as he charged at Mu Yingying. Mu Yingying let out a cold snort, but instead of using her life force, a delicate wisp of azure flame appeared, enveloping her body. Boom, boom, boom. Hong Qi's seemingly fierce attack landed on Mu Yingying, but it was as ineffective as a child playing. It caused no disturbance at all. Damn it! What is that? Hong Qi was shocked. His strength was that of a late 6-star Do D, and his attack was by no means weak. How could it be blocked so easily? You're not the only one with the power of a late 6-star Do D, Mu Yingying remarked coldly. The azure flame around her flared up, expanding into a massive serpent made of fire. Its fierce eyes locked onto Hong Qi. Dragon steps. Hong Qi knew he had to end the battle quickly. The longer it dragged on, the worse it would be for him. After all, this was Human Hall's territory, and his actions were purely for personal reasons. Such speed. Mu Yingying's delicate brows furrowed as she watched. The giant flame serpent here had immense attack power, but without striking its target accurately, all that power would be wasted. Huangquan Heaven's Wrath. Just as Mu Yingying was feeling uncertain, a voice echoed throughout the Human Hall. The moment she heard that voice, Mu Yingying momentarily lost focus. It was all too familiar. Screech? In the next instant, Hong Qi's movements froze, his expression blank, his body stiff. Go! Mu Yingying knew how quickly battles could change, so without hesitation, she commanded the dazzling fire serpent to launch a fierce attack on Hong Qi. Struck by a sudden soul attack, Hong Qi was briefly immobilized. By the time he regained his senses, the fire serpent had already struck him. The smell of burning flesh slowly filled the air as wounds appeared all over his body. Satisfied with the result, Mu Yingying dispersed the fire serpent. After all, this was the Incense Pavilion, and causing a death here would be disastrous. I'll remember this. Hong Qi's clothes were completely scorched, his gaze seething with rage as he glared at Mu Yingying, as if he wanted to devour her whole. We're leaving. Hong Qi ordered his 2 underlings. This had been a complete failure for him. His plan was to humiliate these people to force Xiao Yan to show himself. But who could have guessed the strength of the few in the Human Hall would be so monstrous? Why leave in such a hurry? Stay for some tea, won't you? Just as the 2 underlings were about to help Hong Qi away, a cheerful voice rang out. It was none other than the person Hong Qi wanted to see, Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan? Hong Qi struggled to lift his head, only to see a strange smile playing at the corners of Xiao Yan's lips. Instantly, alarm bells rang in his mind. What shocked him even more was the faint, overwhelming aura of power emanating from Xiao Yan. It sent chills down his spine. Run! Hong Qi urgently shouted at his underlings. But before they could flee, Xiao Yan moved. With Xiao Yan's strength now at the perfect 6-star Do D level, dealing with Hong Qi, who was only at the early 6-star Do D stage, and his late 6-star Do D lackeys, was a trivial task. Speak. Who sent you? Xiao Yan swiftly intercepted the trio, blocking their escape. A flicker of fear flashed in their eyes. They all realized Xiao Yan was a real menace. It was the second senior brother of the Earth Hall who sent us. Second senior brother of the Earth Hall? Xiao Yan repeated, narrowing his eyes at the trembling voice of one of the lackeys. He was clearly confused. The second senior brother of the Earth Hall was Zhu Yuan, currently at the 7-star Do D level. With his status, he was the most formidable among the disciples of the Earth Hall. Xiao Yan couldn't recall what he had done to attract the attention of such a powerful figure. After all, he hadn't caused any significant trouble recently. Second senior brother of the Earth Hall? Mu Feng, one of Xiao Yan's companions, reacted with surprise. As the intelligence expert among the 5 members of the Bamboo Pavilion, Mu Feng was well informed about such matters. From what I know, that guy has had a grudge against you for some time. Back during the Falling Spirit Mountain incident, some strange events happened that caused him to lose first place. Then there's the sky-reaching river issue. Your delayed return pushed back the opening of the Do Technique Pavilion. So? Mu Feng quickly pieced it together and explained to Xiao Yan. Damn it! What are you 2 babbling about? Hong Qi cursed his 2 underlings. How could they have spilled Zhu Yuan's name? If this got back to their second senior brother, the 3 of them would be in deep trouble. By the way, Mu Feng continued, when you passed through the Fontian domain on your way back to the Incense Pavilion, Zhu Yuan was in charge there. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he had something to do with Wang Qin's earlier incident. Zhu Yuan, huh? Well then, let's settle both old and new scores together. Xiao Yan's voice turned cold as a terrifying killing intent surged from him. Run! Hongqi shouted again in a panic. Even though they were still in the Incense Pavilion, who knew what Xiao Yan might do in his current state? Heh, your disciple's quite the tough one. A voice chuckled as Xiao Yan's killing intent filled the air. You've got some nerve, Xiao Yan shot back coldly. If your people from the Earth Hall didn't push us to the limit, none of this would have happened. They only acted out of self-defense. Can you really blame them? Two voices argued back and forth as figures slowly emerged from the void. Only those of at least 8-star Do D strength could tear through space like this. The newcomers were none other than Xiong Yuan and Mu Shuzi. Hongqi, what are you doing here? Xiong Yuan's earlier smile faded as his voice grew stern. Vice Hall Master, we were merely here to spar with the disciples of the Human Hall in preparation for the upcoming sect competition, Hongqi stubbornly explained, hoping to bluff his way through. Do I look like a fool to you? Get out of here. Stop embarrassing yourself. Xiong Yuan's voice was sharp and commanding. I'll give you one day to come to me and explain yourselves, or you'll regret it. A dangerous glint flashed in Xiong Yuan's eyes as he spoke. Cursing his luck, Hongqi silently berated himself for accepting such a difficult mission from his second senior brother. If he had known it would turn out like this, he would never have come. Now he had lost everything. He could only regret it for the rest of his life. Yes, Vice Hall Master. Your disciple's strength. The moment Hongqi left, Xiong Yuan's smile reappeared, as if nothing had happened. He's reached perfect 6-star Do D, Mu Shuzi said, clearly pleased. That's insanely fast, isn't it? Xiong Yuan couldn't help but marvel, a tinge of envy in his voice. Don't think I can't see what you're plotting. Xiao Yan belongs to our Human Hall. You can forget about him, Mu Shuzi warned, immediately catching on to Xiong Yuan's thoughts. Heh, just wishful thinking, Xiong Yuan chuckled, not embarrassed at all after being exposed. Xiao Yan, you've stayed in the 9th level cultivation cave heaven for a full 2 months. You've broken our Incense Pavilion's record since its founding, Mu Shuzi said with a laugh. Oh. Xiao Yan raised an eyebrow, curious. How many people entered before me, and how long did they last? Mu Shuzi smiled at Xiao Yan's surprise. Before you, there were 31 people in total, but only 8 managed to last more than 10 days. The strongest among them lasted 20 days, which was considered quite a feat. But you, kid, stayed there for a whole 2 months, Mu Shuzi said with a mix of astonishment and amusement. Xiao Yan chuckled, understanding the gravity of his achievement. All right, the main reason we're here is to inform you that tomorrow, the Do Technique Pavilion will be fully open. You can enter and choose any Do skill to cultivate, Mu Shuzi announced, shifting to serious matters. The Do Technique Pavilion? Xiao Yan's heart stirred. Although his strength had already reached the perfect 6-star Do D level, the number of Do skills he possessed was pitifully low. Many of his techniques were outdated, having been used on the Do Chi continent. Here, they were far less effective. After all, Do skills are a key measure of one's true power. Does this mean that the heaven-shifting ruler, the hall guardian treasure of our Human Hall, is in there too? Xiao Yan suddenly recalled, his eyes lighting up. That's right. The heaven-shifting ruler is in there. But since the founding of our Incense Pavilion, no one has ever mastered it, Mu Shuzi said with a sigh. Despite its incredible power, no one had been able to cultivate the technique fully. Whether it was incomplete or simply too difficult was still a mystery. However, what surprised Mu Shuzi was his instinct. He had a feeling that the young man before him, Xiao Yan, might be the one to break this legacy. Hopefully, this kid can succeed. Our Human Hall has been dormant for too long, Mu Shuzi mused aloud, then left with Xiong Yuan, likely to inform others. All right, everyone, get some rest. Tomorrow, we enter the Do Technique Pavilion, Xiao Yan said, heading toward his quarters, eager for some much-needed rest after the intense training. Meanwhile, in the Earth Hall, Zhu Yuan sat leisurely in a pavilion amidst a bamboo grove. It seems those guys failed, he murmured, sipping his tea. But no matter. If Xiao Yan truly has what it takes, then let him step over me. If he wins in the upcoming sect competition, using me as a stepping stone, I won't mind. But after all my preparations, if he can't defeat me, it only proves that Elder Zhu and the Hall Masters were wrong to pin their hopes on him. And if that's the case, I'll still shoulder the responsibility. Xiao Yan, I've laid the groundwork. Don't disappoint me, Zhu Yuan said softly, before falling silent once more. The commotion surrounding the sky-reaching river incident gradually settled after Xiao Yan's reappearance. Yet, the disciples of the Incense Pavilion knew that from now on, their ranks would include a name destined to be remembered by future generations. Xiao Yan. Why? Simply because Xiao Yan had stayed atop the 9th-level cultivation cave heaven in the sky-reaching river for 2 whole months, shattering the previous record of 20 days held since the founding of the Incense Pavilion. Just as the excitement from this event began to fade, the long-awaited opening of the Do Technique Pavilion was upon them. The Do Technique Pavilion was a highlight of the Incense Pavilion. In the entire Mystic 3 Heavens, only the Incense Pavilion was known to openly display precious Do skills for its disciples to cultivate, a practice unheard of in other sects. This unique tradition earned the Incense Pavilion deep respect throughout the Mystic 3 Heavens. Other sects often hoarded their high-level Do skills, only bestowing them upon disciples who had made significant contributions. The fear was that once a disciple mastered these techniques, they might leave the sect, taking the knowledge with them. But the Incense Pavilion was different. Here, as long as you could comprehend the techniques and grasp their intricacies, any disciple could study even the most profound Do skills. And even if you left the sect afterward, the Incense Pavilion wouldn't say a word. This was the pavilion's distinct philosophy, knowing that no matter where its disciples went, they would always be tied to the Incense Pavilion by their roots. As the morning sunlight filtered through, many Incense Pavilion disciples rose early. Today was, after all, a rare and important occasion. The Do Technique Pavilion was home to countless techniques, some of which could not be found anywhere else. Heavenly class Do skills were commonplace here, and there was no shortage of sacred class techniques either. The pavilion had 4 floors, with the first and second levels open around the clock. This level of Do skill might be terrifying for those below the rank of Do D, but at the Do D level, it is no longer sufficient. As for the 3rd floor of the Do Technique Pavilion, while it is open at all times, if one isn't at least a 6-star Do D, the guards won't let them in. The reason is that the terrifying power contained within the Do techniques could cause irreparable harm to those without sufficient strength. The highest floor of the Do Technique Pavilion is the 4th. This floor is not normally open to the public because the Do techniques stored here are few but without exception. All belong to the sacred class. However, the 4th floor is opened once every 6 years, allowing all Incense Pavilion disciples to try their luck. Even if your talent is mediocre, mastering your hall's guardian art could propel you to the ranks of the strongest. Cough, cough. Everyone, quiet down. The figures of Mu Shuzi and Xiong Yuan slowly appeared in midair. They seemed quite satisfied with the massive gathering of thousands of disciples. Despite their presence, none of the disciples had yet discovered the location of the 4th floor of the Do Technique Pavilion, for it remained shrouded in mystery. Only the first 3 floors were visible. The treasures stored on the 4th floor are extraordinarily rare, and there are no restrictions on who may attempt entry. From the outstanding disciples of the heaven, earth, and human halls to even the elderly monks sweeping the grounds. If you are a disciple of the Incense Pavilion, you are eligible, regardless of your strength. Everyone, quiet down. The 2 Vice Hall Masters are here. A soft voice announced from the front of the crowded square. It was Ling Xian, the daughter of the Earth Hall's Hall Master. Seems like this little demoness can be useful in crucial moments. Xingyu, standing nearby, teased with a smile. 4th senior brother. Ling Xian retorted with a playful glare. Her senior brothers were always teasing her. Ha ha ha, no worries. Today, we're entering the Do Technique Pavilion. I wonder how many disciples will manage to learn some advanced Do skills this time. Xingyu mused with a smile. Whether any disciple succeeded, the Incense Pavilion would be the one to benefit. I wonder if Xiao Yan has arrived. Ling Xian scanned the crowd but couldn't spot him. With thousands gathered, it was easy to miss someone. "Quiet down, everyone," Xiao Yuan's voice boomed from above, laced with overwhelming power, silencing the noisy crowd in an instant. Most of the disciples present were perfect 5-star Do Dis, with only a few at the 6-star level. The only 7-star Do Di among them was Zhu Yuan, the second senior brother of the Earth Hall. A 7-star Do Di could already be considered an elder in these super sects, while an 8-star Do Di would be a true elder. "Today, we open the 4th floor of the Do Technique Pavilion," Xiao Yuan declared. "As with previous openings, all 4 floors will be accessible, but those below the rank of 6-star Do Di must be accompanied by a supervisor. The treasures within the 4th floor may be tempting, but they come with considerable risks. Be mindful of your limits. The time limit is 1 month," he added. "Fantastic! This time, I'm definitely going to learn our hall's guardian art." As Xiao Yuan's words faded, the crowd of thousands erupted in excitement, their enthusiasm palpable. "It seems there's indeed a lot to be gained in this Do Technique Pavilion," Xiao Yan remarked from within the crowd, slightly surprised by the sheer number of disciples. He had expected only a few hundred to show up, but here were thousands. The Do Technique Pavilion holds sacred class Do skills, and these can be decisive in battles between Do Di experts, Mu Feng explained quietly. "There's also the Heaven Hall's guardian art, the heaven-shifting ruler. Even our ancestor, the Golden Dragon King, was amazed by its power. Though no one has managed to master it for years, it's bound to be interesting," Xiao Yan thought to himself, feeling no fear. After all, he was prepared for whatever came his way. The Do Technique Pavilion is about to appear. In the next moment, as Xiao Yuan and Mu Shuzi's hands began to move, a surge of strange power erupted. A massive stone door slowly materialized behind them. The stone door was simple, but it exuded an ancient, overwhelming energy. Xiao Yan could feel the depth of time and power hidden within it, an emblem of the sect's foundation. "That's the Do Technique Pavilion," someone shouted, and the crowd of thousands buzzed with excitement. Though the pavilion was right before them, the actual entrance to the 4th floor was hidden elsewhere. Due to the immense value of the treasures stored on that floor, it was as if they were kept in a separate space. Only Xiao Yuan and Mu Shuzi held the key to its entrance, leading to the current scene. "The entrance to the 4th floor of the Do Technique Pavilion has appeared. Let's go," Mu Shuzi announced. "Fate will guide you all. Remember, you have only 1 month. Remember the Vice Hall Master's teachings," the disciples quickly responded, their eyes fixed eagerly on the stone door ahead. Behind that stone door was likely the 4th level of the Do Technique Pavilion, a place that represented their hopes and expectations. Excitement was visible on each of their faces, as everyone seemed to have their own plans. "All right then, let's begin," Mu Shuzi said with a smile, addressing the disciples below. Alongside Xiao Yuan, he unleashed a burst of dazzling power that surged toward the stone door. As soon as their powers struck, the stone door emitted a desolate aura and began to tremble violently. "The door is about to open." Xiao Yan, with his exceptionally keen perception, noticed that Mu Shuzi and Xiao Yuan seemed to share a certain connection with the door and spoke up immediately. "We shouldn't be the first to rush in. Let's enter slowly," he added, after a moment of thought. He also noticed Mu Shuzi's occasional glances in his direction, which hinted at some intent. Not the first to go in? But what if someone else grabs the Do skills first? Mu Feng exclaimed in surprise. Everyone knew that the first to enter usually had the best chance to benefit. If the Hall Guardian treasures of the 3 halls of the Incense Pavilion were so easy to acquire, they wouldn't have gone thousands of years with barely anyone mastering them. Xiao Yan was unconvinced. If these treasures were really that accessible, their status would be much too easy to attain. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, as Xiao Yan and the others spoke, the stone door began to open slowly, and a wave of ancient energy reverberated through the space. What a terrifying aura. No wonder it takes 2 Vice Hall Masters at the 8-star Do D level to open it. Some sharp-eyed individuals in the crowd couldn't help but express their shock. Creak. The stone door finally opened, releasing an aura so ancient and overpowering that it caused the faces of the disciples present to turn pale. Go! Despite knowing that the Hall Guardian treasures of the 3 halls lay within the 4th level of the Do Technique Pavilion. No one dared to rush in recklessly. Still, before long, a few daring individuals stood up and headed toward the door, understanding that delaying any longer would only lessen their chances. "Let's not rush. Let them go first," said the second senior brother of the Earth Hall, blocking the path of those behind him. His calm, unhurried voice carried an air of composed confidence. "That guy has impressive self-control," someone remarked as the crowd slowly filtered through the door, leaving only a few behind. Among those who remained were the groups led by Guanglu and Ling Yun, who had previously clashed with Xiao Yan. "Heh, quite an extraordinary bunch of youngsters," Mu Shuzi observed, instantly recognizing the silhouettes of the outstanding disciples from the Earth Hall and Human Hall below. "Vice Hall Master, may I ask?" Xiao Yan, still unhurried, extended his soul power, directing it toward Mu Shuzi. Confident that only Mu Shuzi would understand his soul-based communication, he wasn't concerned if Xiong Yuan overheard. "You're quite capable, aren't you? No wonder you managed to last so long in the sky-reaching river," Mu Shuzi said, slightly taken aback before breaking into a pleased smile. Xiao Yan's soul strength rivaled that of many master alchemists. "There's a large number entering the 4th level this time, but I doubt even 10 will come out with any real results," Mu Shuzi told Xiao Yan. "Seriously? That few?" Xiao Yan was taken aback. There were thousands of people here, and yet only a handful might succeed? The elimination rate was shockingly high. "I can't speak for others, but I can't see through the secrets you're hiding. I hope this time, the Hall Guardian treasure of our human hall will re-emerge, as it's been dormant for far too long," Mu Shuzi said with a hint of nostalgia. Cough, cough. On the ground, the others exchanged glances, sensing that Xiao Yan and Mu Shuzi were communicating somehow. Xiong Yuan, noticing the situation, could only cough to draw their attention back. A soft white glow emerged from Mu Shuzi, quietly entering Xiao Yan's body, though its purpose remained unclear. "Well, now it's down to you youngsters," Mu Shuzi said, cutting off his soul connection with Xiao Yan after Xiong Yuan's reminder. He then addressed the group. "Vice Hall Master, may I ask, how many people entered the 4th level last time?" Ling Yun stepped forward, his eyes keen. "Heh, there were a total of 900 who entered the 4th level last time, but only 3 succeeded." Mu Shuzi smiled. "Only 3? Xiao Yan, Guanglu, and Zhu Yuan all frowned upon hearing this. The elimination rate? The thought echoed in everyone's minds. "Don't worry. Since none of you rushed in immediately, I'll have you transported directly into the 4th level. It'll save some time." Mu Shuzi's smile carried a hint of reassurance. "As for whether you can acquire powerful Do skills or even a Hall Guardian treasure, that will depend entirely on your own abilities and luck. Damn, this old man is playing favorites. Good thing we didn't rush in. Thank goodness. Off you go." Before anyone could react, a wave of ancient energy, identical to that within the stone gate, suddenly emanated from Mu Shuzi. In an instant, a mysterious glow lit up beneath everyone's feet. The next moment, they all vanished. When they reappeared, they were inside the Do Technique Pavilion. "You're really something, aren't you? That was a bit much," Xiong Yuan muttered in disbelief. "You don't get it. This is how they'll be toughened up. Let's just wait and see. There are quite a few promising talents among this group of new disciples. Let's hope they don't disappoint me."